The news now. Police Minister Bheki Cele has led a delegation from the South African Police Service to visit two Cape Town communities that are left reeling from two shocking weekend crime incidents. Two gunmen allegedly robbed a congregation and sexually assaulted two women in a church in Khayelitsha. And in a separate incident, a 50-year-old man has been arrested following the brutal murder of a 3-year-old boy in Kraaifontein. It's alleged the killer is related to the toddler whom he hacked to death with an axe. Now, senior reporter Ayesha Ismail has been tracking this visit by Cele to Cape Town today and is going to tell us exactly what the minister had to say and who he met. Ayesha, good afternoon. Welcome to today. Thanks very much for your time. So, what did the minister do?
So Minister Bheki Cele went to an area called Taiwan in Khayelitsha earlier today. He visited the house of a teenager, a 13-year-old girl who was allegedly raped and murdered, and this happened the weekend before the Easter weekend. She went to have a sleepover at a friend's place, and at this particular house, the two of her other friends were also raped, allegedly, and as I said, she was allegedly raped and she was murdered, and she was then buried on the Easter weekend in the Eastern Cape, and he went and visited her house this morning. At the same time, he also went to a church in Taiwan, in Khayelitsha. It's the Christian Zion Church. And quite a disturbing situation unfolded, and initially we were told that two women were sexually assaulted. Once Minister Bheki Cele and his and the local police commissioner, as well as the other top brass from the SAPS in the Western Cape, after they had spoken to the women in this church this morning, it then unfolded that 18 women had either been, some of them had been raped, and some of them had been sexually assaulted. They were also robbed of their belongings. This is what Minister Bheki Cele had to say after he had spoken to the women.
We started where the young 13-year-old was killed, and you feel the pain. You come here, you see these mothers who were at church early morning on Sunday, on Sunday where Jesus is supposed to be rising, preparing for the last day, the last leg of that. This happens. Absolutely, things they tell are things that you can't repeat anywhere. For two, seems to be young men, they say it's average of 20 to 21. These are elderly people, no, though they are not grannies, but they've got their daughters here. One of their daughters is 16. Now, both mother and the daughter of 16 are completely taken naked. There are 18 women here, and with the children who are in choir, everybody taken naked, instructed to do things that I can't repeat, things that even under normal circumstances, as a wife and a husband, you cannot be forced to do. They are doing that in full view of everybody, in public, in a church. But one other thing that we discover here, this happens during 2 hours of load shedding.
Yeah, a very tough one. I can't even imagine this kind of atrocity, taking place in our country. Ayesha, what about the community? Who did you speak to?
So Dan, we were inside the church when some of the women who were in that church on the day were relating their stories to the minister. And they were still severely traumatized, and it was for that reason that we did not go and speak to them, because already the minister said that he would not allow us to go and speak to the women, but also out of respect for them and compassion, we didn't go forward to go and put our microphones in their faces to find out what happened on that day. And we then spoke to a community, well, he's a community leader as well as the chairperson of the Khayelitsha Development Forum, forum, and he spoke to us after the minister had left the church. What we do know is that the two perpetrators had been arrested and they appeared in court today. This is what the chairperson of the Khayelitsha Development Forum had to say.
Except to say that people or mothers were raped in front of their children or were forced to perform sexual acts in front of their own children. It's very terrible indeed. It goes beyond those things that you want to bicker around. We are quite pleased with the fact that community members on their own are trying to help those who are affected, providing services such as the support to the women who were affected. The other terrible thing, though, is to find out that the assailants are people younger than or the same ages of the ladies that were being violated. It's a very terrible story indeed.
Ayesha, as we conclude, did you get any idea from the local police authorities about the investigation into these crimes?
Well, what we did hear is that two men had been arrested, and Bheki Cele commended the community for their assistance, saying that this probably would have taken a little longer if they did not get the cooperation of the community. And he was also talking about the fact that the police can't do it on their own. They need community to also be their ears and their eyes. But at the same time, Dan, he also talked about a worrying trend where he said that while the police go out to make arrests, very often you would find in cases of violent crime, the courts would then release these suspects, or rather perpetrators, on bail, and they just then go out and commit crimes again.
There needs to be more coordination in the justice system. Thank you very much for your time, Ayesha Ismail, just telling us about the visit today to Cape Town of the Minister of Police, Bheki Cele, following horrendous crimes committed in two parts of Cape Town this weekend.